Bureau. And Coach, before we get into this past weekend, I'll let you put your Jim Cantore hat on just for a second. Expected pretty, maybe even severe weather across Mississippi, and maybe a lot of rain in Memphis. Any update going into tomorrow and whether or not you guys are going to be good to go tomorrow night in Memphis?
No, I wish I could give you some information, Richard, but I'll talk to Coach Schoenrock. I talked to him, this morning. A lot of forecasts have it getting out, tomorrow afternoon, somewhere in that 5 o'clock hour or so. Obviously, a minor league ballpark. I think there's two things to think about when that happens. One, obviously it drains well, good tarp, all those things. But yet they don't want us. It's not Memphis's field. They don't want us to tear it up either. So probably a decision will be made sometime mid to late morning tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Obviously, social media channels will have that as well. So let's talk about the weekend. You go on the road, you win 2 out of 3, you get game 1 on Thursday night, lose on Friday night, and then dominate on Saturday. In some ways, kind of a strange weekend in that you take advantage of a bunch of Auburn mistakes in the first game. You said after the game on Friday that you were embarrassed with the way your team played, and then just kind of dominated on Saturday.
Yeah, it was really a strange week for us overall. I mean, starting back, Tuesday, going to Hammond, where, we just didn't swing. One of our worst offensive performances, I thought, in a couple of years, and just wasn't us. And we gave up a few runs, didn't play clean defensively. I thought Jack pitched okay. Against an offense that wasn't swinging very well going into the game. They're hitting below 200. But, game that, you hate to lose on the road and a chance, to win, and we didn't. We get there, we handle it, and we play, I thought, really well, on game 1 on Thursday night. And Gaddis kind of gutted it out. It wasn't his best night, but you got to credit, pretty good offense by Auburn, they really were sitting fastball and made him have to really work, and then he was able to put up a couple zeros, and of course DeLucia pitched terrific after that, and Mallets at the very end. And then the next day, as you mentioned, just embarrassing. Derek, his fastball was a little more live. His velocity ticked up a little bit, but his command went, and he walked, I think, 3 or 4 guys. And a lot of the base hits were just missed pitches, just missed spots, wasn't throwing the ball, the way he's capable of throwing. And we didn't hit it either. We had opportunities still when the game was intact. I think we were at 7-1, where we had a couple times we had bases, people on base, and we were just a double away from really getting back into the ball game. But then when you give them, I think it was 11 free base runners, if I remember right, 11, walk or HBP, it's hard to win those games, Richard. So that was, again, just a tough one to swallow. But I guess when you win the final one, you feel a lot better. Jack, I thought, pitched terrific. Gave us what we needed. Really only gave up 1 run. Hunter ended up giving up one of his runs when he came in relief. But I thought Jack really put up some zeros, what we needed, and then offensively we were terrific.
Forgive me if I don't ask this question well, but I'm curious about a mindset. So going into the Sunday game against UCF, all the people that kind of scouted UCF said the best arm that they've got going is their Sunday guy, kind of based on the numbers and what he'd put up in velocity. But Butch Thompson said that about the guy that they were throwing, Trace Bright, on Sunday, said that he had been and was their best pitcher. When you've got a good offense, is there something about the mindset when you're facing a guy that supposedly is the other team's best that you lock in a little bit more or approach it differently?
I mean, I would hope it wouldn't be. I think we're all human, but you hope we prepare, every game, and that's our jobs as coaches, is to not be overconfident or let our guard down, or not to not be as prepared because you're facing a guy that maybe doesn't have as much stuff, doesn't have the numbers. To say it never happens, I probably be lying to you if that was the case. But, it's something that's hard to quantify too, right? It's so subjective. Just because you lost to a guy or didn't play as well against a guy doesn't necessarily mean that you weren't as prepared. Sometimes it's just it's baseball, and that guy plays well or you didn't. So tough question. I don't know if that's a good enough answer.
Well, I'm not sure it was a great question to begin with, but I'm trying to kind of explore that. Derek Diamond, you mentioned him a second ago, goes Saturday, doesn't pitch super well in that game. Are you concerned with where he is mentally at all, or is that just kind of a blip on the radar and you're ready to run him back out there and hope that you get the best version of Derek Diamond?
I wouldn't say mentally. I mean, he's got to pitch better physically. Mentally, Derek is one of the reasons he's on the weekend, and we chose him to be the Friday night guy is because I think mentally he's the most prepared. He's a guy that's pitched on the weekend since he's been on campus, and he pitched. There's not too many freshmen that get a weekend start their first weekend, and he did on a very good club in 2020. So. I don't think it's mentally. I think he's got to pitch better. He's got to, as I mentioned, I thought his stuff ticked up. I thought there's no doubt the velocity was, a mile or two better than it's been the last couple of weeks, but his command failed him. And, he's got to be the whole package. And that's really him, a guy that's going to throw the low 90s, and a guy that locates his fastball on both sides of the plate, throws two different breaking balls and a changeup in there. And then you let his competitive spirit take over because he's one of the best competitors we got. But, again, I think, it was just, a combination of, some walks and, making some bad pitches. And let's keep in mind that, it wasn't pretty, but it wasn't 19 to nothing when he came out of the game. The game really got out of hand late, when we just started walking the ballpark, and, we just gave ourselves no shot. So, we want to pitch better at the beginning, but, I think, that game was more of a, aberration in the sense that, we really haven't done that, not just all year, but we haven't done that in a long time.
You tweak the lineup a little bit and go Jacob Gonzalez in the leadoff spot. And he goes out with 5 hits, 5 walks, hit by a pitch twice, on-base percentages like 700 for the weekend, has a couple of home runs and a couple of doubles. I know it had to be good to kind of see him swing it and play from an offensive standpoint the way he's capable of.
Yeah, but I think from a coach's standpoint, we have all the confidence in the world in him, and so much has been said. And that's what's kind of crazy about our game is a kid could be hitting 250, 270, but have a good weekend, and next thing you know, he's hitting 300, or he's not a kid that's been striking out and just not producing. I mean, that's why he's been at the top of the lineup. Maybe his batting average is not where he would want it to be, or we think it's going to end up being, but he's been walking. He's been moving the ball and moving runners, and I think that's more talk radio, and we moved him to the leadoff spot, not to get him going, but to really try to figure out without Kevin Graham in the middle, and what do we need to do, and where do we put McCants in this, and I thought he was a better shot to lead off than McCants, and again kind of shake it up a little bit, but wasn't necessarily because I felt he was in a slump, so to speak. I'm glad he had a good weekend, but he's going to have a lot of good weekends for us.
You mentioned Kevin Graham. Any progress in terms of when he gets back? I guess it's been a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, no timeline or date to give you. The thing that I can tell you, Richard, is he's doing great. I mean, he's in great spirits. His rehab's going ahead of schedule. But when it gets closer to that point, at that 4-week mark is when they'll re-X-ray it and do the tests that they need to make sure that the bone's healed and he's ready to play. So it's one of those. Unlike maybe a hamstring, where you're going more by feel and
Sure.
What's he feel like? Can he feel like he can run and do those types of things? This is more is it healed or is it not healed?
Only 30 seconds or a minute left. Huge week, 5 games, 2 against Memphis, and then a top 5 team in Tennessee coming up this week. It's a big challenge week for your ball club.
Yeah, it really is, and a really good Memphis team. Coach Schoenrock, who's in his last year, really got his Memphis team playing well, and they're off to a great start and a really good offense. So, be a challenge on Tuesday, Wednesday pitching. We'll go with Washburn and McDaniel on Tuesday, Wednesday. And then and go to that bullpen, which we have a lot of confidence in.
Thanks as always.